Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into what actually moves the needle for conservation in Australia at scale. Not theory, what worked on the ground when we put policy levers and funding models head to head across Queensland's reef catchments, the Northern Territory's savannas, inland New South Wales, and Western Australia's rangelands. Headline: There isn't a silver bullet. The biggest, most durable gains came from layering approaches, regulation, markets, Indigenous-led stewardship, and blended finance, so they reinforce each other. The right mix beat any single tool every time. Why the mix matters? Conservation outcomes are shaped by what policy enables or constrains and how money flows as a result. That interplay sets incentives on the ground. If you want transformation at landscape scale, incentives must be aligned and durable. Context. I evaluated 40-plus projects and programs from 2019 to 2025 across 4 jurisdictions and 2 major basins. Metrics were consistent: cost per hectare protected or restored, expected biodiversity gain, condition times area times permanence, time from concept to contract, leverage of public and private capital, integrity and additionality safeguards, and social outcomes, including Indigenous employment and leadership. I visited sites, interviewed landholders, traditional owners, rangers, developers, government officers, financiers, and NGOs, and dug into monitoring data. I benchmarked against IUCN categories: EPBC offset policy, NSW BAM post-Chubb ACCU reforms, and emerging TNFD SBTN guidance. Limits: short evaluation window versus ecological timeframes, variable transparency, and gaps for some indicators like invertebrates. What I compared: 4 families you'll see everywhere. 1. Regulation and protected areas. EPBC Act, State Land Clearing Laws, Planning Approvals, National Reserve System. This is your Stop the Harm foundation plus statutory protection. Clear rules and consistent enforcement boost certainty. 2. Market instruments. Biodiversity offsets, NSW biodiversity credits, reef credits, ACCUs with nature co-benefits, and emerging nature repair market certificates. These pay for outcomes and attract private capital. Methods are improving: soil carbon, habitat condition. Even pollinator value. Done well, they make conservation financially competitive. 3. Indigenous-led conservation. Indigenous protected areas, Indigenous Ranger Program, joint park management, cultural burning. Long-term stewardship on country with cultural authority. Over 75 million hectares under Indigenous management. Ecological and cultural outcomes reinforce each other when governance and funding are right. 4. Blended finance and NGO-led private conservation. Philanthropy, impact investment, revolving funds, conservation covenants, Trust for Nature, NSW BCT, and acquisitions by AWC and Bush Heritage. This is the innovation lab and the patient capital that sustains management. Conservation bonds and biodiversity-linked loans now channel real money to the bush. What separates the winners? 6 criteria. 1. Scale and permanence. Short-term gains are fragile. Protected areas with strong tenure, covenants on title, and joint management agreements performed best on permanence. Indigenous stewardship buttressed permanence beyond election cycles. Market contracts varied, 25 to 100 years, and reversals are real without strong monitoring and penalties. Aim for avoid and minimize under EPBC. Add statutory protection or covenants, and set long durations with clear reversal rules. 2. Cost effectiveness and leverage. Biodiversity gain per dollar reveals patterns. Savanna burning under ACCU methods delivered highly cost-effective emissions reductions with biodiversity co-benefits, especially via ranger groups. Big areas, strong private finance leverage, lower transaction costs once capacity exists. Reef credits worked where hotspots and practice change were clear. NGO acquisitions looked expensive upfront, but delivered high gains when securing irreplaceable habitat and stopping imminent threats. Regulation had the best cost-benefit when enforced. Prevention beats repair. 3. Transaction speed and predictability. Money in political windows don't stay open. NGO land deals move fast, with willing sellers and ready finance. Covenants can be quick with efficient assessments. Markets start slow. Method approvals, baselines, audits, but repeat projects speed up. Regulatory approvals improved with clearer post-reform standards, but still lag when agencies are under-resourced. If you must act within a budget cycle, use philanthropy, covenants, and ready-to-go credit methods. Then lock in gains with regulation. 4. Integrity and additionality. If it would have happened anyway, or benefits are double-counted, trust collapses. Projects aligned with post-Chubb reforms, transparent baselines, third-party audits, and open data scored higher. Offsets only worked where avoidance and minimization came first, and equivalency rules were tight. Nature repair pilots showed promise, but integrity hinges on rigorous methods and permanence. Indigenous-led projects strengthened integrity when traditional owners controlled design and monitoring. Insist on open monitoring plans and independent verification. 5. Social outcomes and cultural legitimacy. Projects that sideline people fail. IPAs and rangers delivered strong employment and well-being alongside ecological gains. Genuine co-design and free, prior, and informed consent moved faster, faced fewer disputes, and held support through bumps. Markets that paid for co-benefits, jobs, cultural burning, threatened species management were more durable. 6. Monitoring and adaptability. What you can't measure, you can't manage. Programs with robust monitoring, remote sensing, AI-assisted detection, clear field protocols, adapted faster, met audits, and attracted follow-on capital. The key is lightweight, repeatable indicators tied to management decisions, so you can course-correct in season, not years later. How this plays out on the ground? Quick snapshots. Queensland reef catchments. Layer strong regulation to stop high-risk clearing with targeted reef credits for sediment and nutrient reduction in priority subcatchments. Add grants for practice change not yet creditable, plus covenants on riparian corridors to lock in gains. Northern Territory savannas. Indigenous-led fire management and savanna burning ACCUs are the backbone. Add ranger-delivered threatened species programs funded by philanthropy for emissions cuts plus biodiversity at continental scale. Joint management agreements strengthen permanence and governance. Inland New South Wales. Use BCT long-term stewardship agreements on private land. Deploy biodiversity credits only after rigorous avoidance. Layer philanthropy to secure high-value properties at risk of fragmentation. Clear planning rules make everything easier. Western Australia rangelands. Blended finance enables large NGO acquisitions, followed by covenanting and carbon projects where appropriate. Partnerships with traditional owners for cultural burning and invasive species control improve outcomes and legitimacy. A simple playbook. 1. Sequence. Avoid and minimize under EPBC and state laws first. Don't use offsets to excuse poor design. Then apply markets where additionality is real. Finally, lock in with covenants or protected area status. 2. Build a finance stack. Use public grants to de-risk, private capital via credits or loans to scale, and philanthropy for monitoring, invasives, and governance. Move fast without sacrificing integrity. 3. Partner early with traditional owners. Co-design objectives, resource ranger capacity, respect cultural decision-making. You gain resilience, better ecological outcomes and access to land and knowledge. 4. Treat monitoring as infrastructure. Remote sensing and AI for coverage, field methods for ground truth, transparent dashboards for trust. Pick decision-driving indicators now. Upgrade over time. 5. Match tools to context. Markets thrive with mature methods and buyers. Regulation works when agencies have teeth. Philanthropy pioneers frontiers and protects irreplaceable assets. Indigenous governance shines at scale when properly resourced and respected. If you're a policymaker, tighten and clarify rules. Avoid and minimize first. Enforce consistently and simplify high-integrity crediting pathways. Fund monitoring, not just projects. Stabilize Ranger and IPA funding for long-term planning. If you're a corporate buyer or investor, focus on integrity and permanence. Pay for outcomes with transparent baselines, third-party audits, and long durations. Support community co-benefits. Avoid greenwash. If you're a philanthropist, target irreplaceable habitats, governance capacity for traditional owner groups, and the glue money that sustains long-term management. Philanthropy is the risk capital that unlocks everything else. If you're a landholder, pursue blended opportunities, stewardship agreements for steady income, carbon or biodiversity credits for verified outcomes, and covenants to crystallize long-term value while protecting what you care about. I'll end where I started. Australia's conservation reality is shifting. Climate change, development pressure, rising expectations around Indigenous rights and corporate accountability. The opportunity is enormous if we stop hunting for silver bullets and assemble the right mix for each place. Layer the tools, fund for permanence, measure what matters. Put Indigenous leadership at the center where country demands it. Thanks for listening. For more on monitoring and tech, see the separate episodes on proven monitoring methods and on AI and remote sensing for Australian conservation. Until next time, follow the evidence and aim for outcomes that last.